Brown eyes built for harsh reality. Evolution picked the setting that doesn't break. Brown eyes are the most common eye color on Earth, and that's because evolution is practical, not artistic. When humans were trying to survive heat, sun, dust, and long days outside, brown eyes showed up and said, I can handle this. The secret is melanin. Brown eyes have a lot of it. Melanin absorbs extra light before it bounces around inside the eye. Less bouncing means less glare, less strain, and fewer "why is everything so bright" moments. In hot, sunny environments, that's not a luxury, that's survival. High melanin also protects the eye from UV damage. Before sunglasses, hats, or eye doctors existed, this mattered. Eyes that stayed functional longer meant people could hunt, travel, and avoid danger more effectively. Evolution loves anything that doesn't quit early. Brown eyes also stay calm when lighting changes fast. Walk from shade into sunlight? No panic, sudden glare, still usable vision. That stability helps when reacting quickly, matters more than looking cool. This is why brown eyes spread across the globe. They weren't rare, they weren't special, they were dependable. Evolution didn't need drama, it needed eyes that worked in terrible conditions without complaining. Brown eyes aren't boring. They're the reason vision survived outdoors. Blue eyes, the low-light specialist. Built for gray skies, not beach vacations. Blue eyes are basically evolution turning down the dimmer switch. One genetic change reduced melanin in the iris, and suddenly more light could get inside the eye. In the right place, that's useful. In cloudy, snowy regions with weak sunlight, extra light matters. Short days, long winters, lots of gray. Blue eyes let in more light and make better use of what little there is. When the sun barely shows up, sensitivity becomes an advantage. This can help with spotting movement and contrast in low light. Shadows stand out more, details pop faster. In dim environments, blue eyes don't waste light, they collect it. Now the downside. Blue eyes don't filter well. Bright sun hits harder. Glare is louder. Sudden light feels aggressive. This is why blue-eyed people squint like they owe the sun money and wear sunglasses even when it's not that bright. So why did blue eyes survive? Because they didn't need to work everywhere. They only needed to work where they showed up. In northern climates, the benefits beat the drawbacks. Evolution doesn't ask, is this perfect? It asks, does this survive long enough? Blue eyes aren't fragile. They're just optimized for the wrong weather. If this is already changing how you think about eye color, subscribe to Explainer Scientist for real biology without the internet myths. Green eyes, the adaptive middle ground. Couldn't pick a side, somehow made it work. Green eyes sit right between dark and light, and that's exactly why they survived. They have moderate melanin levels, not enough to block tons of light, not so little that glare becomes a daily fight. Evolution loves a good compromise. This balance helps green eyes adapt across different environments. In brighter light, they still filter enough to reduce strain. In dimmer conditions, they let in more light than brown eyes. That flexibility makes them useful in places where lighting changes a lot. Forests, mixed climates, shifting seasons. There's also evidence that medium pigment levels help with contrast sensitivity. That means edges and movement stand out clearly without being overwhelming. When survival depends on spotting motion in complex environments, this matters. Green eyes are rare, but rarity doesn't mean weakness. It usually means the trait worked in specific populations without needing to spread everywhere. Evolution doesn't copy-paste features unless it has to. They also tend to shift appearance based on lighting. That's not magic, it's how medium melanin interacts with reflected light. The color adjusts without the biology changing, a built-in illusion. Green eyes weren't designed to dominate. They were designed to adapt. Hazel eyes, evolution's flexibility play. When evolution didn't know what climate was next. Hazel eyes exist because environments don't stay the same. They have uneven melanin distribution, meaning pigment isn't spread evenly across the iris. That sounds like a flaw. It's actually a hedge. This setup lets hazel eyes handle changing light conditions better than highly specialized eyes. In bright light, darker areas absorb glare. In dimmer light, lighter areas allow more light in. For humans who migrated, traveled, or lived through seasonal changes, this mattered. Early humans didn't stay put, climate shifted. Forests turned to open land, days changed length. Hazel eyes offered flexibility instead of optimization. Evolution often favors traits that work well enough across many situations instead of perfectly in one. That uneven pigment also reduces the risk of overexposure without fully sacrificing sensitivity. It's a balance between protection and intake, not the best at either extreme, but resilient across time. Hazel eyes didn't spread everywhere because they weren't superior everywhere. They survived because they didn't fail when conditions changed. Evolution didn't need commitment, it needed adaptability. Gray eyes, built for precision, not comfort. Evolution said, you'll see everything, you just won't enjoy it. Gray eyes are rare because they're highly specialized. They have very low melanin, but instead of simply letting light in like blue eyes, they scatter light inside the iris. That scattering increases contrast and edge detection. In evolutionary terms, this matters in cold regions with low, angled sunlight. Think northern climates where the sun sits low on the horizon and shadows stretch long. In those environments, seeing movement, shape, and contrast clearly can matter more than comfort. Gray eyes excel at that. They make outlines sharper. They help details stand out. That's useful when spotting animals, tracking movement, or navigating snowy or rocky terrain where everything blends together. The trade-off is harsh. Because gray eyes don't absorb much light, bright conditions are uncomfortable. Glare hits harder. Eye strain builds faster. These eyes are not fans of deserts, beaches, or reflective surfaces. That's why gray eyes never spread widely. They work very well in specific environments and poorly in others. Evolution doesn't mass-produce specialists unless the environment demands it. Gray eyes weren't built to relax in sunlight. They were built to detect detail where light is scarce. Amber eyes, high-contrast specialists. Built to spot movement, not blend in. Amber eyes are rare, but they're not random. They have a high concentration of pheomelanin, a type of pigment that gives a yellow-gold tone instead of brown. That pigment handles light differently. From an evolutionary standpoint, amber eyes likely offered an advantage in open environments where spotting movement quickly mattered. The pigment balance increases contrast between objects and backgrounds, especially in bright but uneven lighting like grasslands or dry terrain. This makes motion stand out faster. Edges pop. Shifts in light don't wash details away as easily. For early humans tracking animals or watching for danger at a distance, that speed mattered. Amber eyes also sit between heavy filtering and light sensitivity. They don't block as much light as dark eyes, but they don't let everything flood in either. That middle ground can be useful where lighting changes but glare isn't extreme. They didn't spread widely because they weren't universally useful. They worked best in specific conditions, not everywhere humans lived. Evolution kept them where they functioned and didn't bother copying them everywhere else. Amber eyes weren't meant to dominate populations. They were meant to detect movement efficiently. Very dark brown, almost black eyes, maximum shield mode. Evolution said, turn the brightness all the way down. Very dark brown eyes, the kind that almost look black, are not a separate color. They're brown eyes with extremely high melanin density. And from an evolutionary standpoint, that's intentional overkill. High melanin acts like built-in sunglasses. It absorbs massive amounts of light before it can scatter inside the eye. In environments with intense sun, glare, dust, sand, and reflective ground, this protection matters. Less internal light chaos means clearer vision and less long-term damage. This is especially useful near the equator, deserts, high-altitude areas, and open landscapes where sunlight is aggressive and constant. Early humans in these regions didn't need extra sensitivity, they needed durability. Very dark eyes also reduce eye fatigue. When light levels stay high all day, filtering prevents overstimulation. That keeps vision stable during long hunts, travel, or exposure-heavy work. Evolution favors systems that don't wear out early. The trade-off is low light performance. These eyes aren't optimized for dim conditions. They don't let much light in. But in environments where darkness wasn't the main challenge, that didn't matter. That's why very dark eyes became common in harsh light regions and stayed there. They weren't about seeing more. They were about protecting vision over a lifetime. These eyes weren't designed to sparkle. They were designed to survive the sun. Central heterochromia, built-in contrast ring. Evolution added a target outline and called it a day. Central heterochromia isn't a separate eye color, it's a pattern. The iris has a different color around the pupil than the outer ring. That happens because melanin is distributed unevenly during development. From an evolutionary angle, uneven pigment can change how light is handled right where it enters the eye. That inner ring can help manage glare close to the pupil while still allowing the outer iris to reflect and scatter light. Translation: the eye gets a bit of filtering where light is strongest, without losing overall sensitivity. It's a micro adjustment, not a full redesign. In environments with mixed lighting, shade to sun, forest edge to open field, this matters. Rapid changes in brightness can overwhelm vision. A darker inner ring reduces that shock, helping vision stabilize faster when conditions flip. This trait didn't need to spread widely to stick around. It wasn't harmful, it didn't block survival, and in certain lighting patterns, it likely helped just enough to persist through generations. Central heterochromia also shows how evolution works at small scales. Not every advantage is a big, obvious change. Some are tiny tweaks that improve performance without demanding a new system. Evolution didn't repaint the eye, it fine-tuned the lighting control. Honey eyes, balanced efficiency. Not flashy, not fragile, just efficient. Light brown, sometimes called honey, eyes sit between deep brown and hazel, and biologically, they behave differently enough to matter. They contain moderate to high melanin, but not at the max levels seen in very dark brown eyes. That means they still filter a lot of light, reducing glare and UV damage, but they don't shut the door on sensitivity completely. More light gets in compared to very dark eyes, which improves visibility in mixed or changing conditions. From an evolutionary standpoint, this is useful in environments that aren't extreme, not deserts, not deep forests, places with sun, shade, clouds, and seasonal shifts. Light brown eyes perform consistently without overspecializing. They also handle rapid light changes well. Moving indoors to outdoors doesn't overload the system, and low light conditions aren't as punishing as they are for very dark eyes. It's visual stability with a bit more flexibility. That's why light brown eyes are common in populations that lived across varied terrain. Evolution didn't need maximum protection or maximum sensitivity. It needed reliability that didn't break when conditions changed. Light brown eyes weren't built to dominate extremes. They were built to work almost everywhere. Subscribe to Explainer Scientist for real biology and real evolution. No myths, no clickbait science, no recycled internet nonsense, just how the human body actually works.